look at the bigger picture here.
It didn't last long theatrically.
Was that initiation?
Very purposeful.
Did this Apex company?
I prefer the piss video.
I don't know, man. Like,
okay, I'm embarrassed to admit this.
Of a woman who falls in love with a 13-year-old.
Falls in love with Tom Hanks. Falls in love with Tom Hanks.
Fuck you!
No. Like, you're going like...
Ooh, the system is broken. It's oppressive. We have to escape it.
I'm all for this movement of putting, full feature films on YouTube, man.
I mean,
Yeah,
because we better be. Shit, I've done it 3 times.
He fucking plays Jesus in that movie. I swear to God, dude.
I didn't know that guy's name was Heathcliff. Like the character
That's amazing.
from Wuthering Heights. It's just dope.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
Yeah, no, not that far.
welcome back to the harbor.
Oh man, you broke your mic on that one.
That was too loud for the mic. It didn't work.
That was awesome.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 100.
God damn.
We're the harbor, dude. I'm Adrian, the Kino Cowboy. We got Scott. We got Casher, aka the true rulers of the cinema landscape. We are the true patricians of this realm. We're curating the best Kino content for your
The
small,
best Kino content
non-patri-
in the
If you want to become a patrician like us, keep watching our show. Thanks for following. I can't believe we're at 100 episodes. Boy. And that's the thing, is that we want to be the show, the cinema show that talks about, lesser seen movies, some of the more underground or art house or classic Criterion, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why we're going to be talking about Star Wars today.
Finally.
Is a
And-
scrappy independent film.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, arguably, I've heard the argument that Empire and Jedi, because he made his own production company, he was just, those are indie films. Those are the
Yeah.
biggest indie films of all time. Empire, heard of that one?
Yeah.
But
You ever
but
heard
you
of
haven't,
that?
big.
That one.
Why don't you come back to my place and I'll show you my Laserdisc collection?
Yeah. That's the thing, as that, at first, when I first started this podcast, well, it's not really a podcast, it's a film discussion. I hate using the word podcast because, no. We're an alternative.
This is Kino content.
Yeah, we're a film discussion group.
Usually
And
a bit of
at
content.
first, it was just kind of like, well, I just want to start this and talk about movies. Well, okay, everyone else is doing that. What? Because at first we were reviewing new movies all the time. And then when we started getting our footing, I was like, okay, well, we got to step back and only do certain new movies if they really speak to us, and mainly just go as esoteric or patrician as possible.
We stay mainly you on the, not to interrupt, on the at least tangent to film Twitter, film discussion groups online. Because that's a better
Yeah, I would say film discussions online. I would not say film Twitter. Unfortunately, film Twitter is
Right.
nothing but like film bros and people with really bad opinions on Star Wars and MCU nuts that constantly say the MCU's done, it's mid, but then they constantly circle jerk it anyway. And dude, film Twitter is a cesspool.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I tried to go the internet communities, but then picking the little like core nuggets of gold out of the piles of steaming feces that is those communities, and then polishing them up, putting a middle brow quasi academic spin on it. Because we're smart, but also we're smart enough to not spend all of our money on student loans for a fucking film degree.
Are you telling me that Fight Club is not the best movie ever made?
But also, none of this matters because I own a physical copy of The Rise of Skywalker on Blu-ray 4K. So really, you shouldn't listen to anything I have to say. I may be a Kino Cowboy, but
we're whores, really. And
that's the thing. Is like there should be a description. There should be a description. There should be a description for the harbor that says Kino content and Star Wars. Not to say that there isn't Kino Star Wars, but we kind of can't help ourselves by going back to Star
I
Wars every
think
time.
what we're trying to do, a true authentic cinema fan, I think, is without snobbery, without pretension, but also without that sort of reactionary stuff that people might be for something being pretentious. And it's a fine line to ride, but we try to be, your guys next door. I'm trying to be the cool uncle who, like, I'm smart and I got the good film opinions, but also, man, I don't need a career. I just go with the flow. I live in my van. We're that vibes, man.
Or perhaps we have shit film opinions, and that's why people like to watch us to make fun of us. We don't really know.
Maybe you guys,
and that's
are
fine too. But I just
I would say that we don't have shit opinions, but we also did the movie Annette, and I'll never.
If you want to watch a really good movie, go watch Annette. If you want to watch Casher be a dickhead for a whole episode, go watch our Annette episode. that movie's fucking goated. Man, I love that movie. But,
goated is an overused. Everything can't be goated.
Yeah, it can. In my world.
Okay, Annette is the best puppet rock opera I've seen in my life.
No, have you seen the Muppets?
That's not a rock opera.
That's a rock opera. They have fucking
that's a musical.
We built this city. We built this city with rock and roll.
Whatever, dude.
That's a whole fucking thing. Fuck y'all. Muppets is a rock opera.
I love Muppets, but Muppets
it's not as good as Young Guns.
Not all the Muppet movies are rock operas. I'll just say
the Muppet movie from 2011 or 12 is a fucking rock opera.
All right, okay? Well, I think Annette's better than that movie. So
no, it's not.
But none of them are as good as Rogue One, the greatest Star Wars movie.
And that's the difference is that a lot of we try to be anti-Reddit, but we also try to be an alternative to the Gen X cynicism of Red Letter Media, even though I like Red Letter Media. But I do share the take that Rogue One is a fucking misfire and a boring movie. And that's kind of where I started to be when the new Disney Star Wars were coming out. It was like, okay, The Force Awakens came out. It was successful. It was fun. We had a good time. Then Rogue One came out, and I was like, oh no, this is exactly what I was worried Rise of Skywalker was going to be. I know a lot of people love it. And I know it's got a lot of glup shit.
Rise of Skywalker is worse than Rogue One.
He meant to say The Force Awakens, right?
Or The Last Jedi.
Yeah, Force Awakens was a fun time, and then
you said you were afraid Rogue One. You were afraid The Force Awakens was gonna be like Rogue One.
Yes. But when I saw Rogue One, I was like, this is what I was worried The Force Awakens was going to be when I went to see it, but it was not. And Force Awakens obviously has its problems. It's a remake of the original and trying to hide the fact that it is, but it's still a fun movie and successful from a standpoint of like, you still appealed to everyone.
Hey man, if we didn't have The Force Awakens, we wouldn't have Ghostbusters Afterlife. So, thank God for that, man. Because if I don't get my 80s nerd nostalgia on, I'll fucking kill somebody.
And that's the thing. It's like Rogue One was where it's like, okay.
Hey, remember Vader?
What's next? And then The Last Jedi came out and completely divided an entire group of people.
Still the best of the sequels.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Is like, we should have had Sumner on here to argue against it, but Sumner and I have fought every day for fucking 5 years over it. Not really. I will say in a vacuum, The Last Jedi is a great movie, but in the trilogy, I can see why there might be some issues of, yeah, you should have just sided with a few things here creatively just so it could connect better tissue-wise.
Dude, the only reason why it doesn't connect so well is because Disney's full of a bunch of pussies and rewrites, and we didn't get the actual Rise of Skywalker we were supposed to get.
I know. But yeah, it's like
disappointing.
So there lies a problem of you're not allowed to change too much because then fans will be titty babies. But then they still want it to not be the complete same. So it's like, well, what do you do? And then Solo bombed right after that. And then Solo, the first time I watched it, I was like, yeah, that was a fun movie. Second time I watched it, I was like, this movie's actually pretty fucking boring.
It's lifeless.
And yeah, it was when I rewatched, I was like, you know what? This is boring. I don't have to pretend.
Besides Lando fucking a robot, the rest of that movie has awful ideas.
Yeah, dude. That director's cut sex scene really got me going.
Well, it's
And
like
then-
they nailed the casting for like young Lando. I was like Donald Glover was the most enjoyable part of that.
Kinda.
fucking movie.
I don't know. I don't love his Lando. I think it was fine.
Oh, that's the problem, is that he was doing a kind of a different take on Lando in the original cut when they, the first they shot it twice basically, this movie, and apparently they made it more stilted, more, I don't know. He had to change it for the Ron Howard version. I don't think it completely works personally,
Well,
but
at least we know
He's
one
still interested in
Howard.
playing the character. He said he
yeah.
was.
At least we
Okay.
got one Howard that knows how to make some good Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh yeah, that's true. She makes
Fucking-
way better Star Wars than her old man. I'll
Oh,
say
yeah.
that. But and that's the thing we wanted to kind of just talk about is, one, the state of Star Wars as of 2023, and then after all this, we'll do a review of season 3 of The Mandalorian. And it's kind of like we're at a weird spot right now because The Rise of Skywalker was so hated that they halted plans for any future theatrical Star Wars movies up until now. They finally announced stuff, but it's like, how do you shoot yourself in the foot that bad as one of the biggest companies in existence? It's like, okay, we're going to try to appeal to everybody so hard that it appeals to nobody, and then everyone goes fucking apeshit over it.
Well, it's a few things. One is shareholders. They had to get those movies out.
Yeah.
And I think part of it was maybe it's hard to use a word other than hubris. And the idea of it almost felt like, if we make a Han Solo movie, we will make $1 billion. And that is a scientific fact. I almost felt, because their original plans for this, I mean, they've cut back on production, I think, of Star Wars shit. And which good, because considering the MCU and how strained their visual effects artists are, I feel like the tent poles are wiggling a bit in the wind, But I think there was a moment, and maybe it was after The Last Jedi, and definitely after Solo, where they realized like name brand recognition alone isn't enough. Which is a lesson I think they had to learn. And I also think the fans had to learn that, oh, I can't just go and see anything Star Wars now, and expect it to be up to a certain quality.
Right.
I think it was a learning process for everybody. And the state of Star Wars in general is a canary in the coal mine for media as a whole, considering how much of Hollywood has kind of centered around the gravitational pull of that movie since the 70s.
Yeah. Well, I think Disney's main issue is that they don't want to get out of the Skywalker era. They don't want to get out of the fucking, fall of the Republic and rise of the Imperial and the New Order and stuff like that. They consistently float back to that, which, yeah, there are some good stories that can happen. But as of right now, we have like 4 concurrent things that are going to be happening TV wise, set in that universe. And like, yeah, the universe is big, but it's like, how many stories do you have to fucking tell? Give me High Republic.
We're
Yeah.
getting
Well, thankfully
God
they
damn.
hopefully they are starting to get out of that. Why do I even care in the first place? Shouldn't I be burnt out on Star Wars? Partially, yes, but I don't know. Part of me is starting to just view this just like the way I used to view the books as a kid, is just extra quote unquote content. And I feel like there's less when you don't have them numbered as like an official episode. It becomes less like, what's the word, like, I don't know, like,
canonical,
I don't know,
mandatory.
just like but also it takes away, it's almost like, well, sure, you can view it like that, but then it also takes away from what Star Wars used to be. It used to be an event to go see this movie. Like, okay, there's a new Star Wars coming out. Gather your fucking parents, your grandma, your kids, your fucking brother and sister. This is going to be a big event. It's going to be, a pretty classy, awesome Hollywood affair, and it's not going to feel fucking cheap. And then they put out several movies that feel fucking cheap, and it's like, well, what were we expecting? And because for a while I'm like, well, because when Disney first came out of the bag. They're like, okay, we've got Star Wars, but we're gonna let JJ shoot it on film, and we're gonna use a lot of practical effects, and we're gonna do this and that to try to appease the people that may have not liked the prequels as much, but they're missing the point of by whoring it out. It just doesn't have that same feel to it of going to see a new Star Wars movie and only doing 2 years in between each movie. It's like, okay, well, they have to start shooting The Last Jedi while they're still finishing pre-production on Force Awakens. So of course they're not going to have complete time to patch any holes narratively and this and that. So it's just like, I don't know, a lot of problems, and I should just be distanced from it after all this time, but I don't know. Here I am, like a fucking whore.
I've distanced myself a decent amount. Like, I fucking hated Rise of Skywalker. It's in one of my top 5 letdowns of all time. Physically walked to that movie pissed. And the only thing I really watched is Mandalorian and enjoyed it. I didn't finish Obi-Wan, didn't finish Andor, which I know I'm gonna get shit for that.
I for this cast started to watch Andor. I watched 6 of 12 episodes, and I'm still like, I'm
I
probably
don't
not
like fucking Cassian Andor. I don't give a fuck about him. And then like they ruined Cad Bane, which is the worst fucking. I'm just now getting into the Clone Wars, and now I'm even more pissed.
I think that's funny that you said that, because you're still going through the Clone Wars, have you been enjoying it though?
Oh, dude, I'm already like almost 5 seasons deep.
Yeah, because that's like, oh yeah, and season 5, now you're getting into the cream.
Yeah, I'm like at the end of season 4. This is the best Star Wars content outside of the movies.
Yeah.
Easily.
Like, it's give Dave Filoni all of Star Wars.
Well, don't give him all of Star Wars. I do like to see other characters or directors' takes, but he does have a good control on the mythos and how the Force works and how the universe works. The problem is now people are giving him shit. That 2 years ago everyone's like, give Star Wars to Dave Filoni, and now some people are like, he's just obsessed with bashing his action figures together on screen and this and that. And it's like, well, and the people that are complaining about Mandalorian having to do with tying into Clone Wars and Rebels with characters and storylines, the only people complaining about that are people that have not watched Star Wars or Rebels, because if they did, they would realize, well, this is the best shit worth watching in the Star Wars canon outside the movies.
No, yeah,
so shut the fuck up.
Finally got over the hike of that first season and just kind of skipped most of it, just because it's just too kiddie, man, and it's like the stories don't actually add a whole lot to the mythos for me. But now that
the animation is pretty rough,
it's clunky. But now that I'm in like the fucking thick of this shit,
yeah,
I'm so glad that I'm getting like all of the Siege of Mandalore, fucking seeing what happens on Mon Calamar, seeing like crazy fucking cool side stories with Ahsoka being trapped on a fucking island and being hunted by Trandoshans. And then like the mythos of like the Elder and his son and daughter of being like pure Force beings. Like, this shit's crazy. And so like I knew about a lot of it just because I've read a lot and read a lot of comic books, and shout out, hopefully we get Dr. Phasma in one of these series soon. But the reading Trevorrow's script and learning more about it in the Clone Wars, it makes me that much angrier. Like, it's renewed my hatred of that fucking movie.
I think his script, it was definitely an unfinished product, and people would have complained about it anyway. Because here's something I want to get off right now. It's realistically, if we wanted just the purest storytelling experience, Star Wars probably should have ended with Return of the Jedi. Honestly, if we just wanted the most compact, nobody bitching and moaning except about Ewoks, because they would complain then, like, that's what we get at. There's no point other than money to still be making Star Wars stuff, other than money and like trying to recapture your childhood that you escaped in because like you were a sad nerd, and you still are, but that's okay. because now you have new stuff to watch.
Yeah, if they would make stories outside of that Skywalker saga, yeah, which that hopefully they are.
But in general, I mean, there's no reason. Is there any reason
think-
for there to be Star Wars content other than money?
If they can prove it
after
with
Jedi-
cool shit, then yeah.
They have to prove it.
After Jedi Survivor comes out, we're about to get a shit ton of High Republic stuff because one of the big things about the new game is that there is a fucking survivor from the High Republic in a Bacta tank that they discover, and they undo him. And I don't know if that's the enemy or not, but like that's the one thing too. With the state of Star Wars, Survivor might end up being the best thing we've gotten since the prequels. The way, like, some of the shit that they're doing with the lore, they have. What's that fucking? Do you remember the old Clone Wars TV show that came out during?
Yes.
What is that fucking bounty hunter that's just like fucking like worms inside of armor?
Oh, I don't remember.
So we haven't.
Because I didn't watch. We haven't seen him. He's coming back.
Well, no, we haven't seen his race. That's the only time we see his race. They have one of them fucking trying to find Cal Kestis.
That's cool. Well, here's the thing. I enjoyed the first of those games.
Oh, I did
Fallen
too.
Order. And I finished it. It was a quarantine play for me.
It's
It wasn't
hard.
a perfect game, but
I mean, it was their first foray back into Star Wars since the failure of Battlefront 2.
right. And also you got Respawn making the Titanfall games, which I love, by the way. Wait, was it Respawn or
Yeah, it's Respawn.
it's Respawn. And I think
not a Respawn. No, Gearbox is Borderlands. Yeah, it's Respawn.
Yeah. So working on this, and I guess Apex, I think they do both. So, and I was like, how are they going to do this going from like shooters to this? And it works really well. But also, I want to emphasize, like, they had cool like character ideas, but the development of the first game you felt was rushed. And I think it's because whenever it came out, it's like either Rise of Skywalker, I think, was coming out, and so they're like, hey guys, we need to get this game out there, and they had issues they had to patch out and stuff. I feel like this time they're having more of a development cycle. They have the tech built. They're opening it up. They're not doing like a full-blown Ubisoft open world. So I do think this is certainly the best Star Wars game we've gotten in a while. And also, we're not going to get the glut of Star Wars games that we used to do in the 6th generation, like PS2, just because games take like 7 years to make now. It's insane. Like if you want a AAA Star Wars game, this is going to be it for a while, probably. Unless they make
140 gigabyte download. If you're
it's those damn 4K textures, man.
God damn. It's like and like the full, you can make your fucking Cal Kestis look like he works for a fucking like amateur NASCAR track.
Yeah, no.
Bullet and a shitty beard. I cut out.
Yeah, Scott froze, but I will say
I'm really, really hyped for Jedi Survivor though.
yeah, I didn't really get into the first one, so I'm not really
Played it
sure.
yet? It's on EA Game Pass.
I know I played it for a couple of hours and I was like, I don't know if I want to play this.
It's
but
cool. I really like Cameron Monaghan, the guy who plays Cal.
Sure, he looks just like him.
I mean, they motion capped him.
I know. I think
it-
it's cool. I'm just saying.
I think they did that so they could bring him in later. Because what's happening on the events of Survivor is around the same time Obi-Wan's happening.
Yeah.
So someone's theorizing that we might get an Obi-Wan appearance in it, which would be neat. We'll have to get him back in. The gameplay I've seen from it looks fucking incredible though. Like all you listen to everybody around you, even like random droids are having like pretty like lore heavy or like character driven speeches and things. It looks fucking awesome, and they're bringing
that's
all
cool.
shit in. I gotta figure out what that fucking bounty hunter is.
I just do. I keep thinking like we need to have it either old Republic or fucking way in the future or something.
Oh yeah, okay. His name is Dirge.
Oh yeah,
You remember him?
I didn't watch all of that growing up, but I did
it's
watch some of it.
Really, really good. He's a Gendai, and that's one of the things. That's why I was like blown away. I was like, I cannot believe they're fucking doing this, because Gendai are made up of a massive regenerative tentacles that allow them to regenerate wounds quickly, and the Gendai are violent nomads that just bounty hunt. And they
I
live
wish.
forever.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't brought them into more.
Dude, no, it's a crazy fucking species because the only way they can fucking hold themselves together is in armor, and it's like massive armor, and that's what's hunting Cal Kestis this time.
Yeah. I will say I do miss, like Scott was talking about, that sixth generation of games. It was just like one after the other, like, and before that, like in the N64 PS1 era, there was a bunch of shit too. But like, man, GameCube PS2 era, there was just endless stuff like Rogue Squadron. Let's see, well, Battlefront 1 and 2.
We
Trying to
got
think of what I fucking
Knights of the Old Republic, my dude.
yeah, Knights of the Old Republic.
There's a guy I follow on TikTok. I'll see if I can't find his name. But he reviews every Star Wars game ever made.
Wow.
And like has been bringing back some fucking bangers. I'm like, oh man, I forgot about this one.
There's a lot. I wonder if that KOTOR remake, they're gonna have to remake the entire combat system because it's a D20 like D&D style combat system. And I'm like, they're gonna have to remake that.
People aren't gonna want to do that.
No, not in this day. It confused me as a kid because I played that before I played
I mean
D&D. I'm on 5G right now, guys.
Nice.
The tornado that they keep having to shut down my internet to work on wiring or whatever was very inconsiderate when it destroyed those people's homes and also interrupted my Star Wars podcast.
No, I bet they'll turn KOTOR into an action RPG like they're doing with Final Fantasy, which I'm not opposed to. I fucking turn-based RPGs are fun every now and then, but it's fucking archaic.
Yeah, it's quasi real time. But then again, KOTOR though, they implemented some stuff from KOTOR, like the Rakata. That's canon still. And those are like a force wielding race that almost like had too many force users in their genes, and they like somehow they lost their connection with the force. There's always been some weird stuff in the expanded universe.
No, for sure. There's stuff I'd really, really want to be canonized.
And there's stuff like the Yuuzhan Vong War. I'm glad like that. Screw that. I don't
love the Yuuzhan Vong War.
Dude, I tonally. Here's the thing. I get it as like an extra thing to read in a book as fan fiction essentially, because it is. Like it's sanctioned, but it's fan fiction, it doesn't belong in the mainline universe. These weird 2000s goth aliens.
I love it. I love it so
They're
much.
Immune to the force for some reason.
The one thing that I need in my life is we've already gotten Vader's fall. I want Revan. In.
We'll get it. I'm sure we'll get there.
But that's the thing. Is like, how much of this do we want filled in?
And that's the thing. That's what I wanted to get to, because I don't think the Obi-Wan series I would be fine if it didn't exist. It should have been it should have been a movie.
Mid.
It's the fact that they keep shooting themselves in the foot. First of all, Deborah Chow is not a good director. She didn't direct those episodes well. It should have been a movie, but now everyone wants to stretch things into 6-episode miniseries for content for their new streaming platform. So that gets in the way of the creative process. If this would have been a movie and it would have been treated like a big spectacle for the theater, and they would have treated as such and not used the volume and all this different stuff, it could have been a big fucking deal. But instead, it landed with a thud and people forgot about it 2 weeks later. That's not how it should be. The return of Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen to the fucking universe should have been a giant fucking deal. And it bugs me that it wasn't.
That was opposed to having Vader in that series at all.
Huh?
Like, I don't think that they should have had Vader in the series at all. I think that was.
Well, of course they would. It's stupid.
Return.
And fucking Leia as a little girl. It's like, okay, it's fine enough, I guess. It could have been like a comic book or something. It didn't,
I don't like having that mystery filled in, though. I like and granted, it only fills in like a week or two of his 20 years on Tatooine or whatever. So there's still plenty of room for your imagination to run wild. But I kind of like just imagining what was Obi-Wan doing that whole time, Yeah. I like imagining like what were Han Solo's adventures like before he met Luke. I like knowing those things, and one of the rules of storytelling, like one of the number one rules is show don't tell. But one of the rules corollary to that doesn't get talked about enough is what you don't show is just as important. And authors, I feel like in geekdom and science fiction stuff in general, they show and tell too much. They just give too much stuff. It's important to let the audience fill in the information. And also part of fandom is that wanting more and that drip feed of content because you're a little hamster nibbling at your water bottle, you fucking consumer.
I think one of the only things that I'm glad they're expanding on truly, I mean, they didn't really expand on anything with Mandalorian because that's a brand new character or whatever. But if we're gonna get like a titular fucking character that we've known a while, this Ahsoka series has a lot of fucking.
I'm down for Ahsoka.
Like,
and I am too.
You're
And
not
that's
gonna
the thing.
finish with Clone Wars.
I know there's just so much.
And that's the thing is that what backfired is that I don't need to see Solo. I don't need to see Obi-Wan. These things we didn't need to see. And that's the part of like, I don't want any of this anymore when it comes to these characters from the Skywalker saga. If they would have out of the gate provided with fresh new ideas from different eras, I think that would have went a lot better than just like, let's bet on safe nostalgia. And so now it's their own fault. And now it's good that they've taken a break though since 2019. But yeah. So
I do want to say I think Visions was probably the most refreshing thing.
And sure, that's just a what if series. That's cool.
It's
that's
something that like if
that's
they
the exact kind of
to,
shit they should be doing.
Well,
And
it's one of those things that's like if they wanted to expand on an idea there, like I'd be happy with. There's an episode where they teach you about a like this man who is a forger of lightsabers, and it's years afterwards, and then his daughter's betrayed by a bunch of people, and it's like that whole concept of like a force forward like blacksmith is fucking cool. Like expand on that, expand on what his daughter's going to do to try to find Jedi who are still alive and provide them with the weapons they need or something like that. I don't know.
There is, and maybe I spoke too soon. Like, if the Star Wars universe is still going to exist, I mean, does it need to exist continuously forever until we're dead? No, not necessarily. But it could be expanded. But also, I think there's a value in if you want to still tell stories in a genre setting, to not have to set up a new universe every time you do that. If you want to make a little 20-minute animated sci-fi story, it cuts down on that world building time you have to do. If you can be like, okay, this is in Star Wars. So you've seen Star Wars, you already have an idea of that. So I think in that it's a fertile playground for that. And as a work of science fantasy, it's very broad in what it can do. As for other offers, if we're going to have in this day and age, get a bunch of different writers to work on pre-established intellectual properties, and that's what we're doing. You could do worse. The problem is they're, again, lacking the expansion to other timelines and to characters outside the Skywalker saga.
right.
Which, again, kind of goes back on the fans and not letting the past die.
Well, they also just keep revisiting planets that look the exact fucking same.
Why I never, even from and I know it's a remake of A New Hope, from the original, I saw Jakku and I was like, another fucking desert planet.
Yeah, dude, it's like how many desert planets, how many cityscapes? Give me Mon Calmar and fucking live action.
That's the
Even
best part
within
of the Clone Wars
cityscapes, and part of cityscapes, and this takes extra development time because you have to get concept artists and 3D modelers and all of that stuff. If you have a cityscape, do different architecture. Don't just make it look like another kind of.
You have Coruscant. Coruscant is layers. It's layered. There is an underworld of Coruscant we never fucking see.
I'm trying to think if it's ever been depicted in any.
It's literally like fucking the humans there, the humanoids there don't have eyes. They're like mole people. Why don't we have some kind of like deep horror film about a Jedi who falls into the pit and they're unable to find him for a while, or something like that? It's like, and then they don't expand. There's just so much.
But also, there's They just need to go more abstract with the planet designs too. Like there could be some out there fucking concepts. You just got to be creative. So we
No,
don't
for
need
sure.
and why and they all have to have one biozone. Like
That's the thing. The single biome thing is lazy to me.
yeah,
Um,
biome, yeah, not biodome. The movie.
No, I get it. I wasn't trying to.
No,
wasn't
yeah, I
trying to
know.
Well, it's like I
correct you,
think
but-
the most interesting place we've seen in recent memory out of these TV shows is the place where Ahsoka takes Grogu, or Luke and Ahsoka take Grogu to train. Like that's a beautiful like jungle planet.
I
Name
guess.
another jungle planet we have seen since fucking Endor.
No, for me, the refreshing thing. We'll get into this in a little bit, but it was that weirdo utopian planet with all the fucking
Yeah, but what's beyond
rich
that? I'm
people. So
curious.
I don't know. It was just a different kind of thing. But
no, I like that, and I won't say Lizzo was the best casting choice, but
I love Lizzo in it. I'll do it.
it was bizarre. But I liked how goofy it was. Here's the thing. The Star Wars fans, they never know what they want. So how do you appeal to all these different, because it's such a massive fandom that there's all these subsects that they're trying to appeal to, but
and we're part of a subsect that is, as millennials, more accepting of the prequels.
yeah.
And now we're of age, and now we have jobs and wallets.
And
Also-
also we like some of the deconstruction going on in The Last Jedi, and we recognize that Luke isn't a video game character and that you don't just level up, Ryan Johnson's words, but also mine. And Rogue One has flat one-dimensional characters, and overall that makes the movie suffer, etc. We're in that kind of space, which has a lot of similar Star Wars fans, I feel like. But I haven't watched all of Andor. I can't say what but everyone says it's the best thing to come out since the original trilogy.
It's the same people who like Rogue One.
That's what I'm saying. Is I just saw something on Twitter today that I saved for this podcast, or whatever we want to call it. That is the prompt is Andor the best live action Star Wars show? And this guy, this big Star Wars fan, says if we compare strictly first seasons, then yes, it is. The raw, gritty underworld tone this show has is what George Lucas always wanted. And that, my friends, is an average Star Wars fan that does not understand Star Wars or George Lucas. Because in what world does George Lucas want Star Wars to be this dark, gritty fucking tone?
He made Jar
think
Jar
about it.
Binks.
He made these fucking fantasy movies.
Shout out
for
to Ahmad
children.
Best for making the best comeback of the motherfucking year, though. Just saying.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, but it's
But
just
no, that's the thing, and I do think that's why people like
so
Andor,
frustrating.
because it shows the beginning of the rebellion, and they're trying to do these kind of guerrilla tactics things, and there's an element there and a grittiness there. I think it might be a little too much. Honestly.
You know what's better for the beginning of the Republic story is the fucking Star Killer starting
It's
it with
no,
Princess Leia and
Rebels.
Mon Mothma.
No, I like the Force Unleashed games, but those are not canon. Those are just
To me, it's like Rebels does enough. You'll watch it, Castro, but it does enough to like be like these are the beginnings of the Rebel
Oh, yeah.
Alliance.
agreed.
And it feels so family adventure. It feels so Star Wars, and that's the thing about Rebels is like that's the best Disney property to me. Like because it's just it's so much fun, and I don't need Andor to be like I might give it a shot one day, but I don't like people have like
It's
misconstrued
not
what Star
bad,
Wars is
but-
supposed to
I
be.
don't care about Cassian Andor.
It's not bad. I might throw it on, like if I'm cooking or working out or something. Like have it on,
My
but
only reason to watch it would be fucking Andy Serkis. Like, I'm a big fan of Andy Serkis. I'll watch pretty much anything he's in. But I watched the first episode of Andor and was like, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like
I put fucking 12 hours.
they
in it.
accomplished so little in the first episode. It's almost bizarre, and I'm like,
no, it's
this
the
is
first three
how
episodes could have
this is
been
how
two.
TV shows are these days, and it's so
It's because they
frustrating.
release 2 episodes at once every time when they
Yeah,
stream.
but it shouldn't have to be like that.
No, the first episode should draw you in.
Yeah, I know.
It's fucking, I'm
Like,
a slut for good TV, man.
but
And
that's the
you
thing. It's
draw
like
me in by the first episode.
even if you like the grit and the darkness and all that, it's like okay, that's fine. But even so, I just want to get out of this era. Get me out of here, okay? And that's where I want to talk about that after this Rise of Skywalker debacle. Now they've finally announced 3 new movies, and so let's go over the 3 of these movies. Number one, Dave Filoni is going to get his own live action movie that is going to do a big crossover of the TV characters. So I assume Din Djarin and Grogu and probably Ahsoka and probably Boba Fett and who knows? I don't know what it's going to be. I'm scared because it sounds too much like an Avengers kind of bullshit.
It sounds too much like an Avengers.
But
and that's
also
part of the problem. They're trying to do this expanded universe thing with all these interconnected stories. And I don't know if it works that great for Star Wars. And I don't know if it's working that great for Marvel right now.
Yeah. And that's the
what
thing.
Marvel's doing with too much interconnected stuff and all the special events that I've heard, this is the same stuff they pulled in the 90s in the comics that made their business collapse then. But that's also just the logic of capitalism. Am I right, guys? Am I right?
I am interested to see this. I'm interested in the execution of this and what it would mean to have it tie into these TV shows. And I'm interested to see what Dave Filoni would do with a theatrical film budget, as well as these characters. And also there's rumors that he might just be turning this into its own kind of hodgepodge version of Heir to the Empire, which is one of the few 90s Star Wars books that I've read. But to do that, it would be, okay, so you're going to have Luke Skywalker or what? And if they do not need to fucking have CGI Skywalker. If you're going to bring it, just recast him. We can all accept it. Just please recast him, because it would be weird to do Heir to the Empire without him. But also, would you bring in the controversial Mara Jade character? But then you'd have to like kill her off, I guess, before the sequels start. Because
dude, the Mara Jade would fuck the whole timeline up. Even though she is polarizing, but I love
she doesn't have to become partners with Luke. She could just be like one movie like bad guy or something. But still, that would piss people off, I think.
It would.
So I don't know, because they're gonna bring in Thrawn. They're building towards Thrawn.
So fucking hyped for Thrawn.
But I guess we'll see when we watch Ahsoka. And that's the thing, is like, I don't like that. I have a hate-love relationship with the fact that they're MCUing shit with Star Wars, because I'm fine with it being, TV. Okay, this is kind of like one big show, and it's kind of a continuation of Filoni's universe.
When are we going to get a Star Wars sitcom?
Yeah, we almost did. But, well, not really. We almost got a comedy show with Seth Green, but Disney, it was supposed to come out, and then Disney bought it and they canned it. But, so now I'm worried that this movie's going to be a crazy shit show, and I'm not sure what to make of it. But if he pulls it off, he pulls it off. It's just like, I don't know. And
I have no ill will towards Star Wars, because I have enough ill will arising in my life naturally that I don't need to concentrate and focus to create more of it.
Yeah.
For a franchise that started out as a children's space fantasy film. But my reaction to really most things is if they pull it off, they pull it off. If not, I don't have to watch it. Or maybe I can as a curiosity,
Yeah.
If I don't finish Andor, that's fine. I don't have to swear fealty to a brand.
Yeah, I know. But it's just like, it feels like, I don't know, the stakes are high. Like, we've been building towards something, but you shouldn't have to build towards something. You should have your own little self-contained stories. And that's the thing, is like, I was fine with the MCU kind of style for these shows, but now you're bringing it into a theatrical film. I don't know if that's the right choice.
Right. That was my question. So this is going to be a theatrical film.
Yeah.
Okay. But then also it does feel weird, because I guess anybody can subscribe to Disney Plus, but anybody can go to a one-time purchase of a movie ticket, or a video on demand rental, versus, I have to subscribe to Disney Plus, and probably because I'm a working adult, for a couple months at least, to watch all these shows to prepare for this. Is that how people are going to feel? Because it is fatiguing to everybody. And also the thing is, with this connected universe stuff, comics have been doing that for decades. So we're used to that. The idea of doing that with Star Wars is slightly more foreign.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think they're just,
you had expanded universe stuff that was slipping in and out, blah, blah, blah. But the way they're doing it is more foreign to Star Wars than
I think Dave Filoni, if anybody, would be the only person that could pull off something like that.
Probably.
without it feeling real fucking cheesy. Just like, and that's just me watching 5 seasons of Clone Wars in 2.5 weeks. It's his storytelling and being able to bring in, like, he brought in fucking fucking Tarkin in
Yeah.
the Clone Wars, and I was like, oh,
And
that's
it
gonna
made
be whack.
sense.
Well, I was like, that's gonna be whack. Like, this is not gonna. And then it was one of the better like arcs. And then you got random Chewie in there, and like, I don't know. I don't think he'll go full Avengers with it. It might
Yeah, I
just
don't,
like,
I mean, to
there's-
be fair, even the prequels did that a bit with the cameos. Like, wait, Chewie met Yoda, like stuff like that.
yeah, it does. There is criticism that Dave Filoni he's got too much love for glup shitto characters, but the way he utilizes characters, I like, and like I like following the continuation of some of these characters. I won't spoil who's in Rebels and who's not, but I like that. And
my man brought Maul back. And
yeah, it's successfully. That's the thing, is like, you bring back Maul any other way, it would have been stupid as fuck. But he turned out to be one of the coolest fucking characters.
Literally the coolest character in Star Wars at this point. Like,
No, I mean, when I heard they brought Maul back for the cartoons or whatever, I was like, that's stupid. And then I watched him, and he's like one of the best Star Wars.
And it's because of Filoni who's writing, but it's definitely the performance. Sam Witwer.
Oh, Sam Witwer's a true Star Wars fan.
Dude, that's the one nerd that snuck his way into his favorite franchise. He's in everything. Like, I looked it up. He's in like everything modern Star Wars. He's got either a good role or like a small minor role, but he is in everything.
He's Starkiller in The Force Unleashed. He's the voice of that and Darth Maul.
Fucking mocap of it too.
And the mocap of it.
Baller.
Yeah. It's always interesting when like nerds can stay in shape and then like sneak their way into non-nerd projects because they have like pecs and stuff. That's always interesting.
It's just like, we went from having a Maul that had maybe 2 lines of speaking in Phantom Menace to having the most compelling villain. Like, I'd say he's equally as compelling as
you haven't
Vader.
even seen shit yet, dude.
Oh yeah, you're not even done. You're talking about
like,
this like we don't know.
I fucking fell in love with like this whole Savage, and like that's my favorite.
I sent
dude,
Savage is, no, I sent Adrian a video earlier that I couldn't send to our chat because it was Sam Witwer talking about Maul and his character, but it was referencing a scene that you haven't encountered yet. Okay. So
dude, just wait. And that's the thing is
but the go ahead.
No, I just so I can see some criticism of Dave Filoni, but the thing is that Dave Filoni knows the mythos, and he knows George Lucas better than anyone because he loves
it. He doesn't.
George Lucas working on the Clone Wars. Most of his work on the Clone Wars was providing Filoni and the other directors all the knowledge they needed the whole time. So he was studying Lucas's. He gets the spirituality of it and stuff like that, and
which
the Luke to Lucas's Obi-Wan.
The sequels like totally throw all of that out.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think
there's not.
Ryan Johnson understands the Force too.
Well, I say that not. I loved Last Jedi so much, but because ideas weren't expanded upon, that movie doesn't fucking matter. Like, it
does matter.
I don't think it does.
You can watch that movie, and it's almost like he predicted this would happen, because if you watch The Last Jedi, it almost acts like its own conclusion to this little story, because it shows up and sets up like that idea of like anyone can be a hero, anyone can be this or that, and it has that ending with the kid and like the whole.
I would have preferred that to be the ending,
but like that almost acts like its own ending. So I think it's totally works. But here's the thing, is that another one of the other 3 movies we got announced is a new Daisy Ridley. They're going to continue her story 15 years later.
I don't give a
shit.
And
I'm surprisingly super down for that, because
I fucking don't like Rey.
I love Rey. Then why do you like The Last Jedi?
I like The Last Jedi because it's different. It's a good movie. And
this will continue that. This could really like make The Last Jedi matter more, I feel like.
Part of the reason I'm looking forward to this movie even a little bit is because I think Daisy Ridley is a very talented actress who got burned, and I hope she doesn't have too much of a Star Wars curse. And if this can give her a chance to flex her acting muscles a bit more and redeem whatever her character and therefore her as a performer was perceived as after the Rise of Skywalker. Good for her.
I think they can right some wrongs, and if they get John Boyega in there, imagine they could set it up to where he becomes a fucking Jedi too, and they work
If they
together.
do that, I'll be happy, because that's like one of my biggest issues is that they were like, let's have John Boyega be a Jedi, and then didn't do it.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I was surprised at myself for how much I was like, okay, I'm on board with this, because there were so many things that needed to be addressed and happen that just didn't. And also that expands on the idea of, okay, we're throwing out the previous thing where there's going to be there has to be numbered films. No, we can just keep, if we want to make a sequel, the Skywalker saga is done, but we can still make these movies and not have it to be episode 10. It can just
so in 2060 we're not going to get one that's like VIIXVICMMX. We're not going to get that.
And that just would because I really enjoy the first two sequels. People can hate on me if they want. I really enjoy them for what they are, and I feel like this opens it back up to where I would feel like watching these movies again, because it's not over with. We get to see what happens in the future. And that's the thing, is like, I want them to go way further in the future than just 15 years. I'd like them to go thousands of years in the future, but at least this is something like a new beginning, I guess.
I guess people were, I think also some people were upset that they wanted to see Luke rebuild the Jedi Order. Although I was fine with a lot of that happening off screen, because I feel like I know, like, the story of Luke rebuilding the Jedi Order. Okay, he's going around, he's finding Force sensitive people, he's rebuilding it. Hell, that could be a comment on that. But I feel like I don't need to see that. I would like to see more interesting drama. That again.
No, I really think there should have been, like, it's almost like they didn't do enough. They should have had from the beginning, the 7 and 8 shouldn't have been a back-to-back starting right after the next one.
Right.
There should have been, they should have just said, fuck it, we're going to do 4 movies. And in this in between The Last Jedi and Duel of the Fates, as it should have been, there should have been a movie where Rey is on a journey with Leia, because she's training him at the time. And while this is going on, we're having like a Godfather 2 flashback stuff, but with Luke Skywalker, a younger Luke Skywalker with a younger Ben Solo, with him as his Padawan on some other adventure. And on this adventure, we get some development of both of their characters, and we get more of Luke. And so that way we actually get that Luke Skywalker adventure that fans were fiending for before we saw his final appearance. So we get that, and then we get the lead up into, and we get to see more of the flashback of how Kylo became Kylo Ren. And I feel like if we would have got that, it would have been more parallel to the other 2 trilogies in that way.
One thing I would want to see for the rebuilding of the Jedi temple or Jedi, whatever, council, whatever, is the active like reunion of like Jedi who survived 66, because there's a fucking lot. Like, even other shows have like canonized this, and it's something that like you would expect them to know that the Vader has fallen, that fucking the Emperor has fallen, and seek out like their own kind, like I feel like, like there's a Jedi from the OG Clone Wars series. Again, he looks like a hairy like warthog. He's really cool, but one of the things his species can do is they can hibernate, and so he finds a hole to hibernate in until the end of like the Imperial. He's just like, fuck this, I'm not doing anything for this.
Sleeping through the Empire.
Sleeps through the Empire, and then reunites with Luke and helps him completely rebuild the Jedi. Like and
that's the thing, is that people complain, there's too many Jedi that survived Order 66. There's like 100 of them. I'm like, dude, 100 Jedi in thousands of different planets? Yeah, I don't think that's too many. That seems kind of realistic to me.
It's just because the story is focusing on them and not like the grocer down the block. Like, who do you think
Yeah.
it's gonna? I do
Like-
think sometimes there's definitely too much focus on the Skywalkers, and sometimes too much focus on Force users. Although I think we've gotten away from that some.
Sure. Yeah.
The Force shows up in Mandalorian, but it's not.
Yeah, the Force is
Force-centric
definitely on
show.
there's like the Force is a fucking back, like a fucking, I can't think of the word, but it's definitely not on the mainframe of that for sure.
Yeah, it's in the background. You know,
Yeah,
Grogu,
for
he'll
sure.
lift a fruit.
It's like it's just a plot device.
Yeah, no, he'll
But
he'll seduce Natalie Portman with his dark powers or whatever.
yeah,
But
but
that's a theory I like, is that Anakin subconsciously used his Force to Jedi mind trick Natalie Portman into falling in love with
I
him.
definitely think that's part of it.
I think that's part of it.
If they were to make a Force centric, Force heavy, I know we've got Ahsoka coming out, so I don't know how strong her tie to the Force is at that point. But
And
if they were to
she's
do a
not.
Force
Well,
heavy,
never mind.
they should really focus on like the ancient Force beings and like
Yeah, you're telling me.
Well,
ancient.
now we're getting into that, because this next movie,
Oh yeah, I don't know how to
Which-
feel about this.
which I quite frankly am against, because I think it explains too much, is Indiana Jones 5 director James Mangold is making one set thousands of years in the past,
James
focusing
Mongoloid. Anyway,
focusing on the founding of the Jedi Order.
I'm very down for this.
it's like
Okay,
he's
here's my
described it as
reason- here's my
Exodus, but
reasoning.
Star Wars.
Hold on, here's my reasoning, because we've said the same thing back when Korra was premiering. We didn't want to learn about the first Avatar.
I know, yeah.
And that was a banger fucking episode.
2
So
episodes.
I feel like we could fucking really expand and like
Okay, if it was that good, I'd be down. But if people are complaining about it has to be the founding of the Jedi Order, not the founding of Force users as a whole.
Yeah.
That's the only way they can do it. Because
Well,
I
see-
read a quote, James Mangold quote, Star Wars Force. This is going to be the worst Google of all time. Yeah, he says it's a 10 Commandments of Star Wars. What the
Yeah,
fuck
we'll
does
see.
that mean?
I
You
don't
know,
know.
I'm
Are
excited
you going to have a
see-
Darth Vader with like,
So
he's wearing like the Darth Vader costume, but then he has like Egyptian gold all through it. He's like Ramses and a Jedi's like, let my people go. Like, what the
what
fuck
is
like,
more exciting about this is that means we're gonna get ancient Sith most likely. And those are the most interesting race of
They're
being.
gonna
Not like Sith Lords, it's like the red-skinned fucking demonic looking Siths.
oh, the Sith, the Sith,
The race Sith.
species
Yeah.
that they base their.
We're gonna get
Yeah,
that.
knowledge off.
That'll be
Okay.
fucking cool.
They're gonna
There's
split a
definitely some
sea of
stuff-
blue
I mean,
milk.
They could do, they could do the whole great hyperspace war. They could do a ton of stuff with Jedi and Sith and seeing the Sith at their high. Sith pre-rule of 2.
Yeah.
Well, this is Sith
But-
before Sith was like outside race. It was just
Yeah,
like
just because they were a very force sensitive race. and
Yeah.
that- Okay, so I don't like this quote though from James Mangold, and this could be one quote from a larger interview he told like in a parking lot. You know, like that's the thing, like sometimes I've
Well, it was
interviewed a
at
guy in a parking
Celebration,
lot.
so
Yeah, it was at Star Wars Celebration, so that's pretty legit though. He said it's a chance to tell the entire story of its own, the birth of the Force. Where did it come from? How was it found? Who was the first Jedi?
yeah, I don't need to know that.
I don't need to know that. I think it's
Oh,
all, I mean, to me, that's almost like where did gravity come from? It's
It's
like
gonna
we've
be-
always had it. It's here.
gonna be an Avatar fucking
Well, just go watch that episode of Core then. You know, I don't know.
like we're gonna get
Go watch
I
Mortis
like
or
that.
something.
I think it might end up being really fucking good, guys.
Yeah, we'll see.
Out of
Let's
those
go watch
three-
Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, well,
and then see.
Out of
and
those
'cause
three, that's
all
the
we
one I'm
know,
excited
for
for.
all we know, here's the thing: we talk about this director, this director, that. There's no real authorial vision in all of this. Not much of one. It's too diluted. There's too many cooks. So for all we know, James Mangold could just be really good at working with the studio executives at Disney, and that's why they
Yeah.
hire him.
Well,
You know,
considering there's
I've-
going to be 25 minutes of de-aged Harrison Ford in this movie, I'm not sure how I feel about it. So
it's gonna be weird.
I mean, how long?
It's gonna be like
3 hours.
it's like 2.5 hours.
That's not that bad.
Yeah, but no, it's just the idea of like we're gonna have a whole big giant sequence where he's de-aged because that's what we want to do because
Okay, that's
nostalgia.
fine.
No, de-aging looks like shit, and it's not right, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
Dude, that fucking shit sucks.
I don't know.
But
Maybe this pushes it up.
I don't like looking at CGI people in movies.
Okay,
It's
so
fucking
James
Joker.
Mangold, I didn't realize this. I knew he directed Logan. I didn't realize he also directed like 310 to Yuma and some other and Ford
Yeah.
versus
He's a good
Ferrari.
fucking director, man.
Ford versus
Yeah.
Ferrari, I haven't seen, but every dad says it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
I've heard it. I just have zero
ultimate
interest. I
dad
don't-
movie. I just
Yeah,
don't get
it's
it.
just one of the.
I
I'm
don't-
not the target
What was
demographic.
the movie you said? I couldn't hear you.
310 to
Ford
Yuma.
versus Ferrari.
Oh yeah, no, I have. It's good. It's dad core as fuck though. Like it's
Which is fine.
conservative.
That's
dad
fine.
core.
Sure,
You know,
sure, yeah. It's just
I love it. It's a good
that's
western.
the thing is that we're doing a whole month of Indiana Jones, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well,
with
it's like
that.
Yeah.
Logan is arguably the best fucking MCU or Marvel film, not MCU.
No, that would be Spider-Man 2, but
People
Good guess.
fucking. I know what I'm saying. Like people revere that fucking movie.
that's
and
fine.
It's
Yeah, well, people revere Rogue One.
Yeah.
I'm saying I really like Logan.
Logan's way better than Rogue.
I think Logan's like top 5 Marvel movies ever made for sure.
I'd have to
I
rewatch it.
remember seeing it and being like, okay, that's what I thought it would be. I don't know.
Oh, it's great. I love
I
it.
think it's good. I don't think it's great, but I did.
Yeah, I think it's
like
good.
It.
I
I
think
liked
it's
it.
well made.
When I watched it, I liked it.
You guys
When I watch it, I liked it. I have no desire to ever see it again.
I
I would
rewatched it
have more
last-
desire. I would have more desire to watch it if it was still 2017, and I haven't been through 6 years of Cape shit. So unfortunately, I'm having to save desires to see Cape shit like in reserves, and I'm
Oh, dude, I haven't watched like the last 4 Marvel series that have come out.
I know, yeah. I'm saving it for Guardians
Mhm.
3 because that's sci-fi and it's James Gunn, and the last 2 Guardians movies are bangers. So yeah, I'm gonna go see Guardians 3.
Yeah, I'll see that. That's
I'll
that's
be
about
there.
it. I didn't even see.
And then of course I'm gonna see fucking Spider-Man because that movie is gonna be the shit, hopefully.
Oh, I
Oh
don't-
yeah, Spider Verse. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's on its own fucking.
and
That's
that's just
its own-
and that's just like the artistry, just the good.
That's
anime.
the best Marvel movie
It
ever
took
made.
fucking 4 years to
Spider-Man.
animate the first one because of the detail of every frame.
Telling you,
Yeah,
that's
Fucking
fuck your
guys-
Spider-Man 2.
anyone that
this-
says that's art, no,
Spider-Verse
Spider-Man
is
2 is
the
the
best
shit,
one.
but Spider-Verse is up there.
I'm very excited for whatever.
So, yeah, those
back
two.
to Star Wars. We
Yeah.
don't want to join this.
I don't. Here's the thing: if people were complaining about midichlorians explaining too much, how are they going to make a whole ass movie with this guy explaining the Force? Now, if it's like there's a difference, and they get, and we do, or I do it as well. There's a conflating of the term Jedi and Force user, and they're not the same thing. Or of Sith and Dark.
And how much does this guy understand fucking George Lucas's Star Wars like Dave Filoni understands? Like,
Is he not?
are we gonna get into the
on?
wills and shit, or what's gonna happen here?
The wills are some crazy. The way Lucas was, and they're called the wills for a reason.
Yeah,
The way Lucas was describing the wills, he was potentially being as like, we don't have free will, and the wills are like our spirits taking us through things. Like,
yeah.
there's a whole nother level. I think that's a bit too much.
That was
Jedi
his
fascist, so whatever.
his sequel trilogy was gonna have to deal with that somewhat. And also, people forget that the main carryover from George Lucas's sequel trilogy to the Disney one is that there was going to be the female young Jedi as like the main character. There was always going to be the female, and so neckbeards need to get over that because that's what it would have been.
George Lucas is I bet George Lucas really likes Bud Light.
Yeah, well, it was going to be the Rey character, and he was going to have the old man hermit fucking Luke, and people just they ignore this. Those are like the main 2 things that really carried over. So
I understand like maybe Luke, the criticisms of Luke of being maybe too hardline out of there. I don't know. We don't see decades of this dude's life.
It's
like
trauma. It's a trauma response.
It is a trauma response. And also, first of all, Luke is not a fucking video game character.
Yeah.
And he says that, dude, Freddie Prinze Jr. says that. And
Yeah,
he,
go
because
look
he
up that
voices
video.
people. Huh? Yeah.
No, go look up that video. It rules.
Yeah, no, that's a good video of him being like, is people don't understand it like George and Filoni. And I do, because I've been in those conversations. I like Freddie Prinze Jr. Like, he speaks what's on his fucking mind, because he's second generation Hollywood. He's just like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit, dude. Yeah.
He's been burned pretty heavily by Hollywood.
He has, but I think that's why. And also, I think he might have been a little bit of a shithead when he was younger.
I think that they just fucked him over.
Yeah,
to fuck him over because he wasn't making money, even though the Scooby-Doo movies made fucking hundreds of millions of dollars. And then whenever he started speaking out, they were like, fuck him.
And I learned
Freddie Prinze talks about how like they broke a few $100 million on Scooby-Doo, and people in other movies are getting cars as a like bonus, and they got a box of Scooby snacks.
Yeah, dude, what the fuck? That sucks.
Just get nothing.
He also said in the first movie he's like, fuck it, just dye my hair blonde so I don't have to put a wig on every day. And he said that was the worst mistake ever, because they had to re-dye his roots every single day, and he said it fried his fucking hair and it was horrible, and he said it was the worst experience ever. And so the second one, he's wearing a fucking wig, and he's like, fuck this. And I didn't think about that. For continuity, they're gonna have to fucking dye your roots every day. That sucks.
I wonder if his hair follicles have recovered.
Well, there's pictures of him after that movie, and his hair is still blonde, and it's like, damn, like I don't think he got rid of it for a little while. I don't know, it sucks.
No, there's a few projects I'm excited for right now. Acolyte is high up there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Very fucking hyped for Jedi Survivor, and then Vision season 2, which comes out in a few months.
Do you have a PS5? It's
no.
It's not on modern consoles.
It's not on.
It's not on 8th gen consoles.
Well,
Good riddance for me.
I get a bonus soon. I guess I'll have to buy an Xbox Series.
Might only be on.
So I guess the thing is like,
it's definitely not only on PS5 because it's on the EA Game Pass.
Okay, then I'm wrong. Anyway, what were you saying, Adrian?
I'm just saying, like, so yeah, like I feel better about maybe some upcoming Star Wars stuff than I was in the middle of our first wave of Solo, Rogue One, this kind of like uncertainty, Rise of Skywalker area. I feel like that was definitely like from Force Awakens to Rise of Skywalker, that was like this own little thing of like resurrecting Star Wars. Now we're in this just kind of open field kind of period of like, we're not gonna designate these certain things to have a certain connotation. We're just gonna do it, and we're gonna bring back the crawl. The crawl can be for any movie now. We don't care. It's not. We're not making it. But it's like, okay, I just want it to feel like an event again when I go back to see it. That's all I want, is like it to feel special. But I don't know if it ever will again.
But it's so tied to the death of cinema.
Yeah,
is the problem. Yeah. And this push towards streaming, which we'll see how it falls out, because the streaming wars. I haven't seen that South Park special. I haven't seen any of them because I don't have fucking Paramount Plus or whatever they have me to have. I lose track. Yeah. But so it's like but we'll see how this plays out, because I do think we'll see some of the big players stay in. And I don't know, will Peacock stay around? Will all these others? I remember hearing one Sony exec, and people were like, why haven't you started your own streaming service? He's like, because it's a shitload of time and money, and people can just pay us to put our movies on their service, and we don't have to invest in that. Right. And we're just going to see how the market settles after all this, like, mid-COVID, post-COVID. I mean, they already had plans, but that accelerated it. This mid-COVID, post-COVID dash to streaming, you know?
Well, a lot of them are going to shit, too. It's like,
yeah,
Netflix is now fucking can do password sharing. HBO Max is HBO Mid now.
Now it's just Mid Max.
Fucking dumb.
They should have just called it Mid. The reason why, and I get this, is because they want to be able to show Real Housewives or whatever shit they put on it without it impacting the HBO Prestige brand. Well, then you could just have only good shit on your.
The fucking executive of HBO doesn't respect animation, has canceled so
No.
many fucking animated TV shows. And it's like,
Dude, Disney doesn't respect animation.
Yeah.
Disney talked about, and that's one reason Filoni was able to do shit he wanted on Clone Wars is because it was animated. Don't forget about that. Okay.
Yeah.
If he was trying to make a live action show, those executives would have been all over it. Executives are, it's weird. They're serious people. I don't know. They're weird people. I mean, I've never met like a fucking big executive, but you meet like the company types and like, I don't know. There's a mindset I'm almost like, why are you even working around Star Wars at all to make money? But and also Star Wars isn't for nerds. It's super mainstream, guys. We talked about this, but so we'll see with all these streaming services what they'll do.
It's the wars.
And how that'll impact things. It's the wars, the streaming wars.
Yeah. So let's talk about let's transition to Mandalorian season 3.
Let's go.
Because
this
is
is really good.
Polarizing season. It's a little bit different for me and Casher because we watched it every week.
Yeah. So it is different for him and Casher. So I was traveling. I missed a couple episodes of this and doing stuff. I wasn't really able to watch Mandalorian until it was all out, and then I watched it over 2 days. So it was different for me. Also, I try to avoid online film discussions like the plague a lot of the time, especially for Star Wars.
Unfortunately, I'm chronically on Twitter and I see all these shitty Star Wars opinions all the time.
So what were the takes, the bad takes in your eyes? What did you see that you're referring to?
They would complain about how Bo-Katan has such a big prominence now, and like it's supposed to be Din Djarin's show and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm personally okay with her, especially the show. They're all pissed off that it's just not him going around bounty hunting with Grogu anymore, and that
they wanted the lone wolf and cub shit.
And I'm like, dude, like I get that that's what they're pretty much setting it up for season 4, but this is about Mandalorians. It's about his people. It's about history, and I was more than happy to see them go and try and reclaim Mandalore. That's shit I've been waiting to see for a while. So I was all in on that, and they didn't like that. So a lot of people, they wanted it to be the same old thing, and they act like there was this big overarching plot in the earlier episodes. I'm like, no, it was very episodic. Like, and they were also saying early on that it was aimless. I'm like, well, you just kind of have to wait and see what they're building towards a little bit. And I will say there's a few things that are rushed. I feel like there should have been like maybe 10 episodes instead of 8 because Moff Gideon, they should have expanded on the clone shit with him.
Oh yeah, he just full on villain monologue exposition.
Yeah, they should have expanded on that more, and they should have kind of gone into more of why he was after Grogu in the first place.
Something to do with his Force user DNA.
With Force and Snoke and stuff like that or something, but like they should have expanded on that a little bit more. And I'm not sure what the point of the episode where the scientist gets his memories erased. What was the point of that at the end if it's not going to tie into anything?
I think it was just to show the origins of Snoke and what they were going to use Grogu's DNA for.
Yeah, but we don't see that explicitly or why his memory was erased, because that would have just helped further the process. I guess Gideon was trying to halt that because he wants shit for himself. And then
also, like, the guy had completely changed his tune. Like, he's not supportive of that anymore. And like,
well, he's trying to continue his research.
But he's wanting to continue his research to do good if he knew that the research he was doing was going to do to create one of the most heinous people in the current Star Wars universe.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. There was a couple things, but overall I was happy to see a lot of the episodes have their own little things while still being overarching. But people just complain about the weirdest shit all the time. I don't know.
Also, it's a TV show. Yeah. Sometimes it's setting up for future seasons.
Yeah.
Which they know they're gonna make. So
hey.
all that stuff we just mentioned, it'll pop up in future seasons. And yeah, I guess you just gotta be patient.
Do you
God,
guys
when
think that Gideon's still alive at the end of it?
I don't know. He might
I think
come
there's
back.
a good chance.
There's not.
You know
He's
this-
not going to come back in season 4, but I think he will come back later in the canon.
Do you guys think that so I read this thing online. This is something I guess I didn't notice when watching. Gideon had a mustache.
Yeah.
And the new one doesn't have a mustache. That's probably a clone.
And none of the clones had a mustache either. So yeah, I don't know.
Or he shaved his mustache. I don't know. I didn't notice that.
That's very purposeful because even the poster for him has a mustache in this season 3. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
You want to say
He
the
could
only
easily
thing
be a
I'm
clone, but then also God, so much he's Rick Sanchezing himself. It's he has this idea of, you know, Mr. Smithing himself and making all these clones, but he's such an egotist, which is how you rise in the empire. It's like, how would he manage control? Would he have like a kill switch in the clones or something? He would have them programmed or something, modified in some way. We don't know.
I do want to say I was kind of disappointed we didn't get a Thrawn reveal at all, as much as they hyped him up.
they're saving that for Ahsoka.
I know they are, but it would have been nice to just, I don't know. I got real hard whenever I was like, oh my God.
Once you watch Rebels, you'll see why it's more important for his reveal to be in Ahsoka rather than this show.
And I'm trying to think. I don't think there was much that like I got disappointed with. I thought it was awesome. We got to see the fucking Mythosaur.
Sure, yeah.
That was fucking hype.
And he has
also
there's a weird spiritual connection between him and Grogu at the end of the season, which I wonder what that
also
meant.
Did you notice the circular wipe at the end?
Yeah, the iris out is what it's called.
Yeah. That shit.
It looked like a fucking Looney Tune is what it looked like. But I think that's like I think that signifies like this is the end of this specific art.
That's what I was saying. That's the only time that those does that is at the end of certain stories. So like A New Hope has it, and I can't remember the other one that has it, but only those certain ones have it. So we're done with this arc of Mandalore. I think the next is going to be. I have my theories on the next few seasons. I feel like we're going to be having. He sets up trying to find parents a little bit. But I really think that they're going to try to aim to find more force-sensitive beings. No,
they're not going to look for Grogu's parents. Dave Filoni already shot that down. He says, I'm not interested in that. Din Djarin is his father now.
Okay. So my big thing is I think that they might try to find more force-sensitive beings.
Well, I think, it's really going to focus on Mando helping the New Republic hunt down Imperials across the galaxy, and which is probably going to lead into some territory of first order territory of like kind of maybe seeing how they are reforming or something. Maybe it's
right. Bigger. The Imperial. Well, we get that because we have the council, the Sele council of all the Imperial leftovers remaining leftovers.
We have to start the third impact
in hiding. Yeah. And then Moff being Moff. I also, by the way, I don't jumping ahead. I really like that he's such a diva that he intentionally copied Vader's design just because he's
bastard.
Like, but it's I like thinking of it in characters. Like he's such a diva that he did that. He was like went to his designer and was like, make it look like Vader. I'm the new Vader. Look at me. Like in character, I find that really funny.
Yeah.
A lot of people were theorizing that because his helmet had the horns and the armorer had the horns, and of course Maul has the Zabarak horns, that like all three of those were connected somehow.
And that's the thing that you missed out on, Scott, is all the theories. People were hyping shit up that was never going to happen, and it led to disappointment. Like,
well, that's what you get being a fucking chronically online nerd.
I know, but like, it really felt because the penultimate episode was called Spies. So we're like, okay, who are these spies?
Yeah, I was talking to Adrian about that.
Is it the Mandalorians that they found on Mandalore, or is it the armor? Everyone thought the armor, and to be fair, they were it felt kind of weird the whole season. So it was like
I've been suspicious of the armor since season 1.
But she came through in the last episode, so it's like, well, what was that?
I could still see it fucking something like that happened.
Because when she has Bo-Katan take off her helmet, I was like, oh, here we go. She's about to like double cross her or something. But no, she's like, we're going to unite both of these factions. I was like, okay, good on you, I guess. But it's just weird because they need to go back and focus on like the fundamentalist side of their cult, basically, because that's the thing about the end of the second season is like he went against his religion and took off his helmet to say goodbye to Grogu. And then he became an apostate. And now that he redeemed himself, he just dove right back into his cult-like fucking Mando.
Yeah, it's
religion.
fucking hilarious because like at the end, Grogu's like outside their little hut and he's just like relaxing in full fucking armor. Like,
yeah, dude.
like,
Take that shit off.
Most
Damn.
autistic shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, dude. It's like I want them to get more into that out there while they're now that they've reclaimed Mandalore. They're definitely they have to come to an agreement between these different factions of like, okay, we have to find some middle ground here because some of your shit's too culty, it's too extremist.
It's they have to, or we're gonna have another Death Watch.
Because we need Mando, we need the Mando to become disillusioned by this certain sect of his religion, I think.
It is. That goes back to the criticisms, I think, of people saying they wish it was more Mando doing bounties, you know, like he's doing side quests in the video games. Mandalorian is pretty video gamey in structure. It's very video gamey. Even the idea of uniting different factions to bring together, that's every RPG. That's definitely every BioWare RPG. That's probably going to be the new Zelda. It's like you unite all the different factions to fight Ganon at the end. Like, I'm sure of it. It works, but especially for a video game. But, yeah, no, exactly. No, Morrowind does that. It's like, here, go visit all these little parts. Anyway, point is, that I think people don't understand maybe that like part of his arc is becoming less of an individualist, but also more of an individualist by meaning that by decoupling his identity from his cult and integrate. It's kind of like when an Amish guy goes in Rumspringa. He has to decide like where his identity lies within, you know, this collective or that collective, or does he stand alone? And so people are wanting this like hyper isolationist sort of badass, gruff badass, which is what they want of fucking Luke too, because they're fucking nerds who can't fight in real life, and neither can I. I'm 30. I've never been in a fight. I'm not starting now. Okay. I have a bad back fighting. Dude, it took me a week to fix my neck because I slept wrong. Sleep. Anyway,
we can fight.
But no, you're fucking foot taller than me. But the point is, like, people are missing out that the point of his character arc is for him to struggle as a foundling, also where he fits in society, where he fits in familially with his cult, with mainstream society, with Grogu. You know, that is part of his character arc. So if he's just this gruff badass the whole time, it commutes all of that.
Well, yeah, it's like he has the complexity of being a foundling who is given an identity that he takes, and then throughout this series, he's stripped away the pieces of that identity to figure out who he is, and he's slowly getting closer to that. And by the time the series is over, Mandalorian's going to be a woman.
No, that's the thing, is like one of the producers said like, hey, you know, like the Mandalorian could stand for a number of different Mandalorians, and that troubles some people. And that's the thing, is like, and then they were talking about Dave Filoni about the finale episode, and he was making it sound bleak, and it was really making it sound like Din Djarin was gonna fucking die in front of Grogu.
We were convinced of it.
We were convinced of it. And so at first, when Grogu goes and helps him and saves him right at the beginning of episode 8, I was like, what the hell was that?
We got the best power slide in all of Star Wars.
But that's the thing, is like, that's because we watched it so far along. It's like, it's almost like season 3 more than other things was made more to be bingeable, because it makes sense when you watch it back to back that it's not this big buildup like we had in our heads. And then I felt better about it.
I need Grogu to age a bit.
Well, yeah, but that's the
He
thing is
ages
like you
so
compare
slowly.
him to the first season, he's grown a lot.
I'm talking about like an appearance.
I get it, but like
You know what I'm saying?
they grow, he's very slow, and like
Well,
it takes
so
years.
They would have to
Like,
time
you
skip
said it.
10 years for him to grow like 6 inches.
Well,
It's
that's
like
kind
he
of what I'm
almost
hoping.
says his first words. He's jumping around, he's walking around, he's not just in the fucking baby carriage this whole time.
Well, that's
And
what me and you
He
talked
looks
about.
pretty
I was like,
goofy jumping
I
around,
was
I'll
like,
say.
fucking
love that.
Din's gonna almost be killed, and then fucking Grogu's gonna have his Caesar moment where he just like apishly goes, "No!" I was like, that.
I was really when Grogu first walks out in the mech suit, that was a minute I was like, they're gonna jump the shark. He's gonna be like gunning down people, like I thought they were gonna make it like Gundam Wing,
Fuck
like he's
yeah.
just jumping around.
Dude, how
gunning
fucking
people
crazy
down.
would that be, dude?
No, that's such a good toy idea. They purposely did that because that is the
Oh.
best action figure.
But also they needed him mobile.
Yes.
Now that he's old enough, they did age him up enough like to show like he did learn some shit from Luke Skywalker. He's a little more mobile, he's a little more aware of things now. And so they at least they had that, and he was able to stop that confrontation between the two Mandalorians on the land ship when they were on Mandalore, which that design of Mandalore was beautiful with like the clouds and stuff, very atmospheric.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
love
dude,
that stuff.
Bo-Katan's ship was cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of a giant TIE fighter, but the way it can the way she lifts one wing up so she can bank real quick
Yeah.
and like circle around the gap was dope.
So are there not any more of those fucking weird green natives on the planet? Because it feels like there were just like none when they go back. Like,
Yeah, I
they
don't
had the
know.
First episode.
You mean
where
the
the green dude.
Morlocks from Time Machine?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought immediately.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know,
From
dude.
H.G. Wells' The Time
I'm
Machine.
curious
No,
to
there's
know
gotta be
I
more.
wonder if they're just gonna execute an entire people to give their planet back.
They're gonna move them like the Navi, the
Just
thing
like
find
mass
others.
genocide on Mandalore.
Yeah, they're gonna trail the tears them over to the Jesus
Oh.
Christ.
And this
You
goes
just
back
feel
to what
the-
I said earlier about more complaints that it's having to do with quote unquote Dave Filoni's stuff with different characters. I'm like, yeah, because if you would have watched these two shows, you would be down with this too. And it does stand on its own. Parker loves Bo-Katan. She hasn't seen the other two series.
I think it stands on its own. And I'll be honest, I don't remember. I mean, I remember who she is. I don't remember every detail of the episodes with Bo-Katan.
well, there's a lot of Bo-Katan Darksaber stuff in Rebels that
Yeah, there is. Well, I watch
but,
Rebels. But I don't.
I'm not going to go into detail. Let Casher.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to either. But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah, because I only know Sabine right now.
I watched it and I binge watched it during quarantine.
Yeah, I know Sabine is
which I
gonna be-
think binge watching actually hurts my memory of things because it all
Yeah,
just kind
for
of
sure.
together.
I've been spacing it out. I'll do like 4 or 5 episodes a night.
Well,
and
I've watched
then-
yeah,
Clone Wars
on
twice,
Saturdays, it'll be like
and I've
12.
watched Rebels twice too. So it's a little
Yeah,
bit.
that helps. I've only watched. it
yeah,
once.
the only
I've rewatched
exposition-
certain episodes and arcs occasionally to refresh
The only
myself.
exposition I have on the Mandalore situation, I'm not to Bo-Katan yet, but I know Sabine. I know
Satine,
Vis-
Duchess
Satine,
Satine.
and
There's
I
a different
know-
character in Rebels named Sabine, so it's
Oh,
a
yes.
little confusing.
Okay, and then I have Vizsla in the beginning of
Yeah.
the Death Watch.
Yeah, Death Watch, fucking crazy. There's some cool fights with Death Watch.
Even with
man.
that, I started watching this before the end of season 3.
Which is crazy for you to watch them reclaim Mandalore while all the shit's going on in Mandalore and the Clone Wars. That's a wild
Yeah, all the
thing.
strife pre-purge. Yeah,
Yeah,
Guys, I like TV. I watch a lot of TV.
no, it's just interesting. Oh, what a weird way to watch it, but that's
It is a
cool.
weird way, but I was finally sold on it. I think we talked about it. And we're like, will you please just fucking watch it? Just watch after season 1, and then I watched a couple episodes of season 1, the ones with Hondo and the ones with Cad Bane,
Yeah,
and then got into season 2 and immediately watched season 2 in like 3 nights.
yeah, fuck yeah.
that's how you do it.
So
So my whole point with that earlier is like, if you don't know who Bo-Katan is, it's fine. You'll figure the show explains it enough.
but I like
Yeah, what are they
that
gonna
we get
fuck?
to.
No,
we-
there's so much sexual tension between Din and fucking Bo-Katan. It's not even
I
funny.
like the trio. Like by the second half of the season, we got the.
Mommy and Daddy and
No, I'm
Lil
saying,
Grogu.
like Bo, Din, and Grogu is like a team running around. I
love
like that. But it is very clear that most of the season there was not supposed to be Grogu in season 3. Like, he is written out of episodes because they don't know what to do with him. It's only like the last 3 episodes where it's like, okay, this is how we tie him in. It's very clear. They had another plan before Disney was like, no, we have to bring him back in Boba Fett now. Do it. And despite that, I think that does overall was a detriment, but season 3 really pulled it together. And
I think so too.
But let's talk about the most controversial episode, the Lizzo episode. People complaining that the lighting was too bright and like, it didn't look real and it looked stupid and not cinematic. And
It's supposed to look gaudy.
They all cherry picked that scene, even though it's like a giant open glass dome and there's going to be light from all directions. I guess they didn't think about that. They cherry picked that scene while meanwhile in the same episode is one of the coolest looking cyberpunk ass city scenes in the show when they go on this little video game fetch quest side mission thing. And I'm like, dude, just and they all shit on that same scene setting with her and Jack Black. And I'm like, dude, it's okay for certain scenes in a whole show to be not as good as other scenes. Like, it'll be okay if you don't like that. If you don't like this episode, but you liked 5 or 6 episodes out of the 8, I think that's still fine. That's a success. I don't know. It's just weird.
I'll just say I really liked that episode, and it was cool to see the super battle droids back.
And they're complaining the whole time to Andor and how Andor's gritty and they have this serious dialogue and stuff. Lizzo's too goofy and this and that, and Jack Black. What? This is totally
I don't think
weird.
they were too goofy. I think
they
were effete. They were out of touch. There was a goofiness. Jack Black did not go full Jack Black.
That's true.
Forget it. After I laughed when I first saw him on screen, it was like distant at the end of the table because I had heard he was in it. And I just hear him like, welcome. And I'm like, okay, Jesus. But then after that, I legitimately forgot he was Jack Black.
There's some
Lizzo, I didn't forget her. She was Lizzo because she was giving a lot of expository dialogue. She's not really an actor.
I will say
and
that
she did okay, but it still seemed a little
she did
wooden.
fine, but the thing is that she did have a lot of clunky, corny dialogue. But the execution of that scene in particular was very prequels-esque, and I like prequels, so I can see why people may have not liked it. But then there's the problem that a lot of it came from racist undertones, or like, oh, she's a fat black woman, so we're gonna shit on her because
that's just the internet's thing with Lizzo.
I know it's the internet's thing, but I can understand you not digging the direction of that kind of execution, that prequels-esque feeling, because not everyone likes that. That's fine. But to say that that's not valid, but because it's not like Andor, is idiotic. And Andor is ruining shit. Where like, oh, we want all Star Wars to be like this. I don't. Don't you fucking dare.
I like a mix. It's a galaxy. It is a galaxy.
Yeah, it's fun to have dark, gritty stories, but not everything has to fucking be that.
Yeah.
There's every class, every economic class exists within the fucking galaxy. Okay, it's so you can have the poor gritty rebels, and I like seeing the high society. I like it when they're on Coruscant and we see all those social climbers schmoozing about and you know, talking, oh, I really liked your presentation. You know, sort of things.
I wonder what they think of the Gungans.
Well, it's just people just need to wrap their heads around the fact that think of all the different kinds of societies just on this planet of Earth. Now times that by like 5,000, and that's how many, you know, like there's millions and trillions of different societies in this.
I think there's a trillion people just on Coruscant.
Right. Yeah. Like,
how do they not like the fucking cheesy, like, family, like, you know, more fucking accessible Lizzo planet, but they're a fan of Babu Frick? Like, I don't know.
Because Babu Frick is not a black woman.
Yeah, well, I love Babu Frick. That was I love Babu Frick.
They even have the little Babu Frick.
I know,
Those are
and
his. That's his species, right?
Well,
With
yeah, the funniest line in the whole thing is just like "bad baby, no squeezy," and like walking away from him. I was so fucking stoned when I watched that. I was like
Yeah.
crying in bed, laughing.
I don't know. I think there's I do think it was condensed a little bit too much, and they could have expanded on some of the more in-game, not the movie in-game, but the word in-game level shit with Grogu involving Moff Gideon clones, Snoke, whatever you want. I don't know if they're holding off on that or something,
I'm sure they are.
but I did like Grogu do well. Never mind. I can't. Nothing. Never mind. Castro hasn't seen Rebels. I can't talk about a parallel at all.
Can I
Somebody's-
ask? I'm asking because I'd like to know. There's no chance that Hondo could ever be in these shows, is there? Is he
There
dead?
definitely could be.
Okay.
I don't know how long that race lives. I'll just spoil it. He does not die in either
Okay,
Clone Wars or
good,
Rebels.
because I love Hondo.
Right
Now,
but
okay, well, hang on. He could definitely be around because canonically, okay, okay. Batu, the fucking Star Wars land at Disney World and Disneyland, is canonically in the first order, or the sequels era.
yeah,
And at the Millennium Falcon ride, when you go in the waiting room before you load into the Millennium Falcon, is this giant fucking awesome detailed animatronic of Hondo who talks to everybody, and he's like the space captain and shit. And that Disney is very meticulous about staying within shit. So Hondo definitely does
maybe we'll get
exist in the sequels.
Hondo.
And dude, that animatronic is sick. And I was so shocked when I saw that for the first time. I was like, Hondo? They chose Hondo. That's badass. And he like guides you through the instructions for the ride and shit. And that is a really
I
technical.
want to see if I can
read.
see the animatronic online.
It's a badass. Yeah. He's cool as hell. And I was like, this is sick. So yes, Hondo does exist in the sequel trilogy, just not in the way you would think.
Yeah, but then
Wow.
Boba Fett kills him immediately.
Yeah, no, that. So they should definitely bring back Hondo at some point in one of these shows.
I think it'd be great. We had the space pirates.
He could be in
established.
Ahsoka. It would be probably more in line for him to be Ahsoka than anything else, since it's almost like it's pretty much a Rebels continuation.
No,
So
that's a fucking animatronic.
yeah,
That looks like a real person.
I know, dude.
What the fuck? That's so.
It's
dumb.
advanced shit, dude. And
Dude,
I'm
they
going
need that. Well, now I'm seeing this. It's like they're setting up.
when I go back in June, and oh yeah, Scott will be able to experience that when he's at Disneyland. So that'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
cool.
Well, the big thing. We have the space pirates like fully established now.
Yeah.
Maybe Hondo is the leader over fucking. He kind of looked like Pizza the Hut, like a garbage man.
Oh yeah, that guy was
Yeah.
fucking cool. I like that.
Who
guy.
the Pirate
character
King
design a
with
lot.
all
Yeah,
the
the
plants?
Pizza the Hut looking guy. I was like,
Yeah.
finally, some fresh fucking character design.
But
He
with
was
all the
like-
plants on his face.
Yeah.
he looks
Yeah,
like a
that guy was
garbage-
cool.
He's like a vegetarian Pizza the Hut.
He's like
Yeah.
a swamp. Yeah.
They
But
should have
no,
called him
now that
Swamp Ass.
Maybe Hondo's
Swamp ass.
maybe Hondo's gotten bigger in like his pirating expeditions and is the leader of that guy. Like that guy's captain.
I think Hondo's too kind of not inept, but inept to make it. I don't know.
He is the most Looney Tunes villain in all of fucking Star Wars.
But he doesn't feel he feels grounded, and you even kind of like
He
him.
also is kind of terrifying.
No, yeah, it's kind of that Jack Sparrow thing where you're like, I don't know how much of this is an act to fuck
Hello.
with me versus how much of it's real.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've gone on so long that Parker's come home from work because we've been
This
talking
is
about
why
Star
we don't
Wars
do
for so
Star
fucking
Wars
long.
episodes.
I know,
I'm just
yeah.
can end this here.
Okay.
Yo, Parker, what do you think of Lizzo in Star Wars?
What? He said, "What do you think of Lizzo?"
But
in
don't
Star
come on
Wars?
camera because we've never had a woman on the cast, and we don't want to start now.
Yeah, we don't want to get it flagged.
No, yeah, dude, we don't want all these anti-woke Lizzo haters coming on here.
She liked her.
Okay,
I thought she was cool.
she would.
I guess it's almost 9:00. Well, we should probably fucking end.
We don't have. I can talk about Star Wars for another hour. I have no idea. How long
Honestly,
we
I
can go.
probably could too, but I don't need to.
I cut out in a bit because of my internet. I don't know.
This is why we don't do Star Wars on this cast.
No, yeah, well, this is exactly why we do Star Wars on this cast. Occasionally, that's the thing.
It's the 100th episode.
It's
This
the
and
100th
also
episode.
we get this out now, so the other casts will be less weighed down.
God
by our-
forbid, dude. We're gonna have the Indiana Jones cast is gonna be gnarly fucking long too.
But I will say no, they're gonna be just kind of like I don't know, but no, it's
Temple
good
Doom
that we got
cast is
this
gonna
out
be
of our
long because it's
system.
gonna be me and you fighting.
That's the thing is like I can just talk about Star Wars forever. In fact, I will like 20 minutes ago, I forgot that we were even doing a podcast. Like I was like, wait a minute. I was like, oh yeah, I was like talking so casually. I was like, wait a minute, we're fucking filming right now.
Oh, we
Damn.
should be framing this conversation somehow. So I think overall we all really liked Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah,
give
I
me
enjoyed it.
Jetpack dogfight. I'm fucking in, dude.
That's the thing. I've always been wanting a like a fight between people all on jetpacks, and we got that, and that was something I've always wanted to see, and it was fucking sick. Bo-Katan like coming down with the fucking saber and shit. Oh, and they destroyed the dark saber. That's important.
That is very important.
I think that's a way of saying like we're putting these fucking archaic beliefs
And they
behind
killed
us.
off like the fucking patriarch of the fucking Vizsla.
New era of Mandalorians. Yeah, Paz Vizsla getting fucked over by the
Rest in
guards.
peace to the fucking goat. Like,
That was pretty cool.
he
And
was
then
the
we see,
shit.
and it's cool that we saw his son get anointed at the end and stuff. And I don't know, as cultish as they are, they're not skydivers. Oh wait, yeah, they are.
They're just
But I do like seeing their culture, obviously. And if you don't like Mandalorian culture, don't watch the show called The Mandalorian, I guess. Obviously,
Yeah,
you
it's
don't know your shit. You haven't watched the other shows. That's not my problem.
It's heritage, not hate.
these colors don't run.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a dark saber replica with a Confederate flag on the hilt and says
Okay.
heritage,
No,
not hate. No,
all
I'm
right.
not. No, I'm not.
And anyway,
I will
I
too.
think that wraps up our 100th episode, everybody. We had a good time talking for who knows how long about Star Wars.
I don't know.
Next week, we will be back with one of the more underrated Miyazaki films, Porco Rosso.
Better be a pig than a fascist.
Yeah, look forward for that.
I wish our government would listen to that. Do you think that's what Tucker Carlson said when he left Fox News?
Yeah, wow.
No, give it 3 weeks. Tucker Carlson's gonna come out of the closet as something. I don't know.
If you were all the way at the end of this fucking podcast, you're still here. Help
We
us
love
out.
you.
Share us. We love you for being here. Share this
don't. That's a
podcast
strong
or
word.
whatever it's called, video discussion. It's not Mr. Plinkett. It's Kino content. But
Check out
yeah,
the new
that's crazy.
outro.
100 episodes still running. I don't care if we have 1 viewer, 100 viewers, 1,000 viewers. We're gonna keep going. We like to do this shit. It's fun. Why not? It's not all about fucking money. We're not making money off of this. We're just talking about fucking movies like dorks. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more Kino content. It's been a hell of a ride. We're just getting started.